Hey, what's up, guys? Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. Yes, I am in a different studio than I typically am. This is one of our production studios here at the station. I'm getting ready to go down to the Kaseya Center for a press conference. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. And wanted to get to this because we were talking about this a little bit on the radio show, but I wanted to get some more thoughts on it because Leroy can be we're going to stay patient on stuff. And I don't know. This whole start has kind of thrown me for a loop. People have said, oh, Tobin, you were all in on this team, which I think is a strong statement. I said very much going in that I'm going to go at this optimistically. I did not agree with Mike Florio's statement and any publication that had the Dolphins at the bottom of the barrel. Man, do I look loud wrong. I thought that was crazy. But you definitely could see, I think all of us could have our biggest fears come out and look at what was combustible with this team and hope like things were going to go the right way. Things that we probably got a little too froggy on, projecting what the defensive line is. That seems like the biggest thing, that was going to have any kind of a real impact. And maybe it'll come around. Maybe these guys will be together. Zach Sealer will pick things up. The rest of the pass rush will pick things up. Jalen Phillips said today that the Dolphins are frustrated and disappointed with their start. I don't hope so. And, I think that defensive side of this, in some ways, I definitely thought, I can tell you, I thought, I was like, oh, those guys can carry the Dolphins a little bit. And it's been anything but. They haven't carried squat. Now, they did come up with some big stops. They've also had some big-time blunders from starting defenders on special teams that have killed their stops. I thought for sure that was going to be ahead of the game. Even with the cornerback deficiencies on the roster, thought Minka being here, they were going to make some plays, get some turnovers. I mean, they got a quarterback who's turning the ball over willy-nilly at the worst times. They can't get the football from the other team. It's a disaster. And either it's big-time penalties to keep drives going, turnovers on downs. All of that stuff has been just unbelievably frustrating. And, it's definitely, I think it's got everybody reconsidering things and where things are going to go. I mean, Monday is as important as it gets for the franchise. There's no doubt about that. And Stephen Ross could be out here with every vote of confidence there is. The thing that changes things, though, is you can't plug your ears. When you're there with the fan base and the fan base going to be on edge, if they have bad drives, we already saw what happened in the home opener. This one's going to be on national television. What do you think that's going to do for the projections of this team and where their owner's at with this stuff? So, for sure, this cannot be one of those things where we're just looking at it and being like, oh, man, don't worry, dude. They're going to get the whole string of the season to fix this thing and figure it out. And it got me wondering because today the Dolphins, who did practice with their fancy jerseys, or their fancy helmets for their fancy jerseys, and Darren Waller was out there. Reportedly, I saw that he caught a pass from Tua. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool. And that's nice. It's good to see that Darren Waller is going to be there. Will he do anything? I talked about this yesterday. I'm not getting my hopes up for that stuff, but it'll be nice. If it happens, it'll be nice. But today, the big news in the NFL was that the Giants officially pulled the plug on Russell Wilson. And it did get me thinking a little bit. We talked about this on the radio show, but I don't know. I don't know what the right answer about this is, but it did get me wondering. Tua has played, some of the worst quarterbacking in the league so far this year. Can't take care of the football. The team feels in a lot of ways like whatever success they're having, I don't necessarily feel like he is going out and taking that impact on the game like he has in the past. And I have questions about how the guy is playing physically, how he's holding up, and I say that as somebody because I think if you always thought Tua sucked, you're looking at this and being like, this is what I always saw, dude. And I'm coming at this from different eyes because I don't think Tua sucked. And I'm like, I don't think I'm seeing the same guy. Like, and so maybe I'm crazy, because if you're a person who's believed in if you believed that Tua, in the great words of Richie Incognito, that Tua was ass, then you can't tell the difference between a BBL and a natural ass. But for me, I'm looking at this and being like, well, Tua was an ass, in my opinion. And now all of a sudden he comes up with some inflated cheeks. I'm trying to figure things out, dude. I'm trying to get a grasp on these things. And so you'll excuse me while I'm trying to process all of this and trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. But if this does keep up, of him playing his worst football of his career, the Giants today announced that they're benching Russell Wilson and they're going to start Jackson Dart. And it is a different situation from a couple of perspectives, because Brian Daboll, the fact that he was brought back this year, and Joe Shane, big surprise. Like, I thought what happened last year on that Hard Knocks, like, I thought that would have gotten them fired. But they not only didn't get fired, but they were able to use a pick and then trade back into the first round to take a quarterback. And so this is always the move. You have a couple of moves of desperate coaches. You got Callahan this week. He gives over the play calling duties, which is something I think we've all wondered if Mike McDaniel would do that. And I think Mike called a decent game the last time around. So there's that move. But they're obviously not moving off Cam Ward. He's their rookie, and they love him. They just have a stinky offensive line, and he's going through it right now. But for the Giants, like, okay, this is your move. Like, once you're done with Russ and being in that spot of, hey, he's going to, we're moving on from him, and you're going to that's kind of like, all right, let's see if this kid's got anything, and if he does, then I get to stick around maybe for another year and see what's what. They were actually in this spot last year, right, where it was like, hey, we paid Daniel Jones. We believed in Daniel Jones. It flopped. He wasn't very good. Now he's killing it right now, and as Indiana Jones, Steichen is completely revitalized. I don't know what this Kevin O'Connell does when he gets quarterbacks. This guy's like the bum whisperer. Like, they come to him and boom, all of a sudden they're great. But the Dolphins are more in the Giants spot last year, where it's like, hey, we have a quarterback, we paid him, but the season wasn't a disaster. He got hurt. The season was a disaster, but it wasn't a disaster because he sucked. It was a disaster because he couldn't stay healthy. And that makes you on a different timeline than the Daniel Jones thing a little bit. But Daboll doing this is, in a way, like his heave to save a job. And I do wonder if the Dolphins go to 0-4, and Tua stinks, if he's not good, would Mike McDaniel ever get to the point where he did bench him? And I'm saying Tua's got to, like, go out there, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, or no touchdown, 2 picks, or another critical pick, or just can't get the offense moving. Will there ever come a time where Mike McDaniel would have the stones to pull the plug on Tua for a little bit, or for good, and sit him down and play either Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers? And I don't know who he goes to. I'd assume he'd go to Zach Wilson. The fact that he brought in Zach Wilson, I've always found to be a little bit strange. It's almost like his little pet project that Kevin O'Connell has when he brings in guys. He brings in Zach Wilson, who did not look good in the preseason, and is getting used to this offense. But, I guess you wonder about the durability and the arm and all that stuff. It's always been said that he has a really good arm, but his mechanics, not that great. But is there ever a time where the dynamic duo would fracture? Because we have heard in the press conferences, frustration on the play calling, frustration on the execution, frustration on the play of each other, frustration on the play calling. This duo that has been so together for their journey together, as head coach and face of the franchise quarterback who gets the big money, the coach who gets extended, they're going to be synonymous with each other for a while. Like, there's going to be that. But will there ever come a time where it all breaks up? And I think that's an important thing to check out this week too. Not just the Dolphins keeping their season alive, but, like, is every start now the question of, hey, this could be the last one. Like, would Mike McDaniel do anything to spark the team? Because I talked about this yesterday with the pass fail stuff. Is that I think a lot of the offense and the weapons, they've looked okay to me. They've looked okay. The tight ends are non-existent, but the running backs, the receivers, Malik Washington this week said that Mike McDaniel calls him, I think, Malibo, their version of Miami's Deebo Samuel, and I like Malik Washington. I think we all like Malik Washington. I think we like, Tyreek still looks like he's got juice left. Jalen Waddle, if he could stay on healthy, seems like he's got juice left. But I'm wondering if this keeps up with Tua, is there any thought in Mike's mind? I'm going to say probably not. Like, my thought is Mike McDaniel's going to ride till the wheels fall off, especially since we know Mike, as Tua said back last year, went to bat for him in these contract talks. So that can't be ignored, right? Like, I think that's one of those things. Like, Mike McDaniel basically was the Dolphins' pivot after the Sean Payton thing didn't happen. The pivot was, hey, can we fix Tua? And, his whole thing is like, I nurtured this guy. And so, like, would a 0-4 start get him? Probably not. But if it's bad on Monday night, right? Because we got to get back to the reality of what it is. We've valiant effort, no moral victories, but valiant effort against the Bills. Bad ending. We've had all the talks about whose fault it was. Forget about that. It is what it is. The game is where it is now. Do we get to a point where Mike McDaniel is rats off a ship on his guy? Because, let me tell you something. If it's 0-4, people are going to be calling for Mike McDaniel's job. And whatever coach comes in here, they're probably going to stick with Tua. So is there any thought when people are fighting for jobs and deflecting blame, which is what happens when people lose? People will find a way to survive, okay? There's 0% chance Mike McDaniel does it. There's no thought to it. And this is, again, not Tua just losing, not Tua being decent, not Tua being okay. I'm saying a stinker, a real bombski. That's what it's going to have to take. Is there any part of it that gets to that and Mike McDaniel is considered pulling the day ball and moving in a direction? Now, who does he go to? Sheesh. I don't know. I think most people would want to see Quinn Ewers. I think people are in that spot, but he is a rookie. Like, that's one of those where it's like you could do that and you could probably ruin the kid. Like, if he's definitely not ready. So it feels like once you pull the plug there, they're not going to go to their guy, because the difference between going to a first-round guy and a seventh-round guy just doesn't have, like, the same bite to it. So I think that they're going to go Zach Wilson if that were to happen in his goofy number 0. But, I mean, maybe it's hard to probably tell, like, what reps are going on and who really believes it. Probably would depend on if, like, Bevel thought that he was coming along strong, or Frank Smith really believed in the guy. So I don't think that the Dolphins do this and it turns to, we're going to see what the rookie's got. Maybe we got a diamond in the rough here. I think it probably goes to, we got Zach Wilson there, which also gives Tua more leeway than the Giants. Okay, and why it's not quite apples to apples. Like, Tua's got, there's not really anybody that. Like, I see some people are calling for Quinn Ewers. I get you, but I don't think that's like an off-road hipster thing. Like, you guys are all off in your own little cafe with the bongos and the poems. The Quinn Ewers contingent is very hipster right now. It's not on the mainstream. The Jackson Dart thing in New York was, everybody's talking about it. I would be curious. It's something, like, if we ever got to that point, I don't think today is the day to do that, but, like, would Dolphins want to go right to Quinn Ewers, or do they want to see if you can revitalize Zach Wilson? These are such loser problems. But hopefully the case is that the Dolphins can just get their first win and we can get some normalcy here. But we're not in normal times. I don't want to pretend like we're in normal times. We're not in normal times. And what happened today in New York just made me think, like, hey, what is the outlook for the Finns and their drama?